board.
We'll get going.
But they have full retirement.
You're here. Zach's here. Ray's here. Where were the ladies?
Yeah.
Probably all
All right. Well, thanks everyone for coming to our May meeting. I'm sure there'll be a few others rolling here in a bit. If you have not met me, I am Scott Gerlinger, your Civic League president. Chris is our vice president. Erin had a conflict come up with the graduation thing, so she's not here. She's the other vice president. She's not here. Was Brenda coming? So we'll see if Brenda. So, do we have anyone new that needs to introduce themselves?
I mean, I've lived here 20-some years, but this is like the second time I've ever been here.
Well, welcome back again, man. What's your name?
Pete.
Okay.
Good friend.
Yours?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, that says a lot. All right. I'll kick us off with the Pledge of Allegiance then. I pledge allegiance
Under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, officer, we'll turn it over to you for our
The
update.
report.
All right, folks. 7600 block of Victory Drive. You had a larceny from auto ×2. Both windows were broken. Items were stolen. Occurred on the same evening. 100 block West Little Creek Road. Larceny from auto. Vehicles left unsecured. Items were taken. 7400 block of Rebel Road. Larceny parts from auto. Stolen license plates. 100 block Sterling Court. Larceny parts from auto. Stolen license plates. 100 West Little Creek Road. It's under investigation. 500 block Timothy. We had larceny from building. Ex-husband allegedly came and stole a firearm from the victim. Virginia Beach arrested the suspect out in Virginia Beach, and the firearm was recovered. It was an arrest not related to the firearm issue. And 500 block Grantham Road, you had the larceny of a golf cart from the upper apartments. As of right now, it hasn't been recovered. It's agreed. They're back to doing that.
That's it. Everything's north of Little Creek.
No, not Rebel.
Property Rebels.
Where's Rebel?
Rebels back in there. Yeah, it's like a tiny.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a tiny little road that's
Colony
like
Point,
Probably
right.
have
Near
back
you.
by the water.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
License plate, because we think it fell off.
All right.
So, this was last Thursday or Friday. I called in.
I think you'd remember this.
Well, I just can't remember which day it was because I was so
Shocked.
shocked. Yeah. I was leaving to go to work about 5 or 10 after 6. I turned right on Burley Avenue. I live in the 100 block, headed towards Granby, and
Monty.
I mean, I don't know what else to say.
Yeah.
Good
way to put it. I mean,
There's
you
two.
get the picture.
And I proceeded to stop.
So
and
enough
I
of the
did call it
picture.
in, or called the police and said, I wanted to report. He seemed very agitated. I don't know what was wrong with him, whether he was on something or what, but he was stark naked. I left, went to McDonald's, got breakfast, and decided to come back and see if he was still there. He was apparently talking to some gentleman in a U-Haul. He did, when I did come back, he did have a pair of shorts on at the time, but then I proceeded to watch him. And I photographed it. He was stealing the ornamental plants in front of Blad's. I took several pictures. I did say something to him. I don't know what happened. I did show the pictures to the manager's house.
We know he lives there.
Yeah, he does. It's just, I live in the 100 block of Burley, and I've lived there before, and that house has always been an issue with various different. I've called the city numerous times. I've had the actual city call me back and actually say that, we know there's not a whole lot we can do, kind of deal.
Right, the owner owns
He
the
has
Japanese
side
steakhouse.
guys,
yeah.
And he lives in the house on the other side, right?
Yeah, he lives on the house next door, and then he has another property within the neighborhood. But, you know, it's just, there's something, that guy was not right. And I've seen him walk up to cars in the line at the Walgreens, and I don't know what comfortable situation if somebody started walking up to me if I was in line at the Walgreens.
I
So,
understand.
He was acting, when I saw him on Sunday, he was acting,
she works out in her yard a lot.
right,
You know,
Around the corner.
she's retired, more of a teacher, and she works in her yard, and she takes care of a couple other yards in the neighborhood just to keep her busy. And I think she's reported him before as well.
What is the same guy? So there's someone walking down. I saw, yeah, this guy was like real agitated down by
Yeah, they
the.
stole
Understanding the manager caught it all on camera and confronted the individuals, and they brought it back.
That was nice.
That's good.
That was fun.
So,
But there's someone just maybe last week I saw they're walking down the middle of Little Creek, like clearly very agitated. But I mean, in the middle of like rush hour traffic going both directions.
beard.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll pull the calls.
Is that the fellow?
I'll pull the calls for service and see what we can do, and then I'll get up with codes and we'll go out and see what we can do together.
I know it's an ongoing issue, but it's, you know, it's
But
unfortunate that that one house, it being the oldest home in this area because it was the original farmhouse to this area, that it's.
it leaks over into the businesses right there, like the new bank.
Well, they had a whole, did you call about that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so
City knows
you
well.
called about that, all
I
right.
call them every week.
But there's still
I call them
debris
every-
out in front of the
I call them
place,
every
too.
week in the city, you know, I complaining, I'll do an online thing every week because I'm tired of it, because it just makes our, you know, I've heard stories that, you know, the owner's evicting somebody, and so he just takes everything out and throws it out on the street. Or, you know, they're collecting things, and, you know, it's just, you know, unsightly, so.
I'll get up with Kelly Kirk, one of the supervisors, and see what we can do.
I know, I mean,
No,
you can do what you can do, that's all you can, right?
we'll see if we can make some improvements on it.
Match.
Chris, we're on camera.
Is the voice recording this time?
He can't come. I don't know. We'll find out later.
All right. Well,
So our featured speaker tonight is our delegate. How long have you been our official delegate? 6 months?
Yeah, a couple months.
Yeah.
Couple
So
months.
anyway,
Before that, though,
It was Rob Bloxham.
no,
Well,
before
well,
Oh,
you,
before that, before
you were,
a
You're in
whole
the-
other portion of the
yeah.
city.
that's
yeah,
what,
and then they
well, it's, as long as you kind of bring that
Oh,
up.
context.
so
Give us the whole history of Jackie Glass.
yeah, give her say. I gotta finish my introduction.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so we heard from you, I don't know, sometime last campaign, but campaign's done. Now you're here to talk about what really happened, right? Or has happened, right, in the last few months. So feel free to stand wherever
Over here.
makes sense. Or
Because you guys have
You
people
can-
on this, right?
yes,
Just
they may.
stay close to that. So I'll give, I don't know that I've met and plus you're a new neighbor back to the, welcome back to Civic League to me. So I'm Jackie Glass. I represent you all in the 93rd district of the House of Delegates. I represented the 89th district previously, which was most of the downtown area, all the way out over by NSU. And then where I stay in Valentine Place, which is like now always is sitting on the edge of the district, no matter where I am. I got elected in 2020 as delegate there, stepped the election, and then the firehouse. So I was like won on a Tuesday night and had to be up to Richmond on a Wednesday morning. Yeah, that's what that was interesting. But since the last time I met you all, touch on things in the General Assembly, but I'd like also one. Okay, so timeline where we are in the legislative process. I'm typically in Richmond from May into February. We did not complete a budget during that time. So we had to come back to Richmond last week where we finally approved a budget, but hours. The reason why we're still in special session is really disappointing, quite frankly, to me, because they are working on skill gains legislation. So they are trying to figure out, and I just feel like there are other things. I'm just telling y'all off top, what you see is what you get. I accept all the consequences for the things that I say. I just think it's substandard that we're session, or like there's got to be a better reason for us to be in such a session.
Teams.
The great machine, yeah. Part of that is because the parties involved have some direct ties to. For you all, as your representative, I still have the ability to do these things called commending resolutions and memorial resolutions. If you all feel like there's a person, an organization, it can be a graveyard because we've done it before, that deserves some commending by the state, by the Commonwealth of Virginia, I can put that in and we can have this big, long commending to celebrate, honor, whatever that is. Some what being in session still allows us to do. During the session, if you all know, there was a lot of turnover in the General Assembly because of the redistricting and how that went out, which meant I went from being 98 to being 62. So in seniority. Chaired 3 subcommittees, which is like kind of not a real thing. Usually people are waiting 10, 15 years in the General Assembly to do it. So it just shows you kind of the breadth of experience that we're dealing with there. I serve the Privileges and Elections Committee, which means we hear all of the election law. And then I serve as the subcommittee chair for election administration. So anything that happens with elections before it makes it. Also that here is like all of your broadband, TikTok, all those sort of like anything that has to communication technology or innovation, and I serve as the subcommittee chair for communications. I also serve on the agricultural committee where I'm on a couple subcommittee, agriculture, Chesapeake, and natural resources. That was a strategic ask because of you'll appreciate because of the coastal resilience things that we have going on. I really like that was one, and also kind of heard they said they just kind of gave me the bills that were controversial in the sense it didn't seem so speed cameras. Heads is essentially trying to manage those bills, but that's the kind of work that we're here. As far as our agenda, I've done a couple bills. Like my brain is like passing on me right now. So we got a couple things. Compacts. I don't know if I'm anybody familiar with compacts. No. Okay. So what happens is we're a very transient place in space, and we have people that have professional skills that can't come to Virginia and get to work right away because they're licensed somewhere else. And so what we did was we held a compact for physician assistants because it is a thing. We do have a doctor shortage here for cosmetology. But 7 different states have to convene and say yes, we want to be about part of the compact, and we get to be at. What does it mean to be able to have your licensure go from state to state to state? So that's really important. We're just looking for ways for folks to be able to come here and not say, if I go there, then I'm going to have to go through all this other stuff just when I can just go elsewhere and get to work. And that actually came from the military, making Virginia for military families and spouses, but it helps everybody. I mean, any one of you guys can be interrogated with a deep fake video of yourself built by the police, and it's perfectly legal. And myself and many of the police departments believe that's probably not a cool thing to do. That's probably not, because the technologies are going, that we probably need some guardrails. That didn't pass, but we're working with the Crime Commission and what they call the Joint Communications Technology sort of commission to see what that looks like with the police chiefs, with the sheriffs, just to say what does it look like to build trust and fund justice from a place where we feel like we can trust as technology sorts of cuts in on something. I feel like I'm missing a good bill. Benefits cliff, we're trying to make it so that people don't just get kicked off of let me say this. We have a lot of people who are on public assistance that want off. And so then it makes them stay in a place where they can stay on benefits rather than economically advancing. So I had a bill called the Dynamics Benefits Cliff Adjuster that got sent to a study, which means we're working with the Department of Health and Human Services to figure out how do we build a system where if I make a penny over, then I get a penny less in the community that are differently able because they'll choose that benefit over taking that raise because they can't afford to lose one or the other. Does that make sense? Chiago, I'm looking back. Chiago in the back is new to our team. My office is a certified B3 employer. What that is Virginia Values Veterans. We particularly hire folks that have military experience. I'll tell y'all this, it's great to have that in one term, but it's also because I don't get a lot of money to have a great staff. So most of them are retired and they could come to work for a mission on the cheap. So they already have medical benefits, but I was really pause because I said I would also ask you all to do some things about the General Assembly that you probably, or just in general, tap into. Oh my goodness.
You had a question.
It's like rating of schools thing.
So So you like me, and I'm again, I say what you see is what you get. I'm going to be as candid as I can be because I'm always honest. I currently have problems not just with the VDOE, but our own system, right? Like there's some issues not just with what the Department of Education is doing, but also how did a whole what do you call it? The Superintendent Coons just did a review with military families. Even they were confused about like how this is how it's going to roll out and like what.
But how is it not an attack on low socioeconomic income schools? Because it is a direct attack, as is the attendance being part of accreditation. It's all just a direct attack on schools that are struggling. So instead of helping them, we punish them.
Well, you wonder, well, okay, I don't care what, let me just say this. I did not do party politics before this, and I walked the line of just really trying to hold the whole picture in my hand. But we are dealing with currently at the executive level that doesn't really have a lot of love for public education. Mm-hmm. And we're also seeing that on the front of just any sort of assistance with education is like we are currently going back and forth with the Department of Education, as well as the department, the new commissioner for Veterans Affairs, because they are taking benefits from military families that want to go to school, like literally just cutting them away. So like for you to see why someone would want that benefit or why this particular place or school district would need a little, I would love to actually touch base because I've been looking at what Illinois did this thing called evidence-based schools funding. Like wrote a bill specifically to rework their funding mechanism based off of evidence. And I'm just starting. Forgive me because I just started looking into it because of what's happening here. Mm-hmm. Because I don't want to come to the table and be like, this is dumb. But I could, but what good does that do? That's a word. Words are wind. And so I've been looking at how are other places doing? Because we know that from the state level on down, funding formulas are jacked. They're just not conducive to building up places that have been consistently divested in, right? Because even in Norfolk Public Schools, we have a Birchmont and we have a Lindenwood, right, in the same district. And so really looking at not only how we fund at the state level, but how do we make that sort of mentality trickle down? And I promise you, I was just reading it's called evidence-based school funding. Mm-hmm. And their governor just, I think, signed it last year or so. And I'm really interested in reaching out to some legislators in Illinois to see all right, because just because somebody else did it doesn't mean it was a great job. It picked up. So I don't like it. I think it's done. I think it's an attack on public education, and that's the way it feels. But feelings are mine, and we fight with facts, and then how we move forward.
Yep.
Are you looking besides Illinois? Because Illinois, I think, is a pretty important example. They're bankrupt.
Right. No, what I mean is they are not there. For example, as far as the money that they have, but really making an intentional effort to look at what is to reevaluate. I'm looking at other states that are funding their schools based off of true evidence of performance and need rather than just this is how we do it. So if you have another state, we're looking at I'm researching right now in Illinois about.
Because I know the states are ranked like it for education.
Mhm.
So those that are highly ranked, and I don't have the ranking in front of me.
Yeah.
but Why are we not looking at them?
Because, well, you can say, so like, let's take a state like Vermont, for example, right? That is pretty high ranked. Not necessarily the most comparable to the way a place like Virginia is set up with such like expansive or disparities in incomes across the state, as well as the types of school districts that we have. So we can look at them, but the shoe, because it's a nice shoe, doesn't mean that it's going to fit us. And so that's what I'm trying to look at, these different types of.
Yeah, that's a good
Yeah, I'm just thinking
We're
that's
also looking for
something we should
progress, though.
strive for though, rather than.
Yeah.
But we want to look at all
You
too
know.
at like places that have struggled and then have progressed, because we want to see how they made progress. If they're already at the top, then they're not progressing. They're just
There.
They're maintaining,
But I'm
yeah.
saying, how did they get there? How did they get there? What is the process they used to get at the top?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, no joke. Human capital and capital make all the difference in everything, right? Like, even if we didn't have, say we had no money, and I'm like this, not an optimist, but just like believing in the human spirit. And we were like, hey, we just need people to step up, amazing educators, and have no money and see us do really well in spaces. So like holding both of those things. And this is the time right now, just for everybody to know, it's June, July is when like I'm like doing my homework 100% on like what are we going to bring forward, because this is a full-time job, part-time pay, full-time problems. And so like trying to like really does take me from now until November to get whatever it is that I'm trying to get as close to right as possible with the community. So this is the perfect time. If you see something like I'm open, my ears, eyes, heart, and mind are open, because I genuinely can't do it all. Yes, ma'am.
So Norfolk Public Schools led the effort to have that JLAC study done about 3 or 4 years ago. And so why fully implementing that plan? It was a wonderful plan. They found out a lot of good information. So how is that playing a role in at all?
So pieces of the plan are like, so much as legislature. So last year, legislator, which came from the study. So like, yes, people are carrying bits and pieces, but getting bits and pieces doesn't really put the whole picture together on the JLAC study. So even that study, pieces are being done. I mean, I'm sure you see that there are parts of it legislatively that have already been passed, parts of it that you're like, why they didn't get left in committee. So yes, it's a yes and to me, like we have what we have in our hands, and then time is changing. That's the thing about like the way that we do business, the type of learners that we have is shifting because of this whole thing that we had called the pandemic. Like, you know what I mean? So like really just looking at the funding piece, I'll tell you honestly, I come from a place, every time I hear fully fund, I'm like, how do we, I don't even think we really know what that means. Like truly know what it means. And it's probably an astronomical amount of money, but I'm like, even in that, I personally try to hone in on okay, so helping the funding piece. So for me, at that point, it was the at-risk add-on, like codify that whole thing, and then we'll put our lens on the other on the of the pie or the next recommendation. And for those of you all that don't know, the JLARC study is the Joint Legislative Audit Education. They study casino gambling, they study convictions and everything in between. It looks like you were going to
I was going to
there.
say, but it's not just public education, pre-K through 12, but it's also the public libraries in our Commonwealth have not been funded fully funded in over 20 years. So it seems like I feel, and in my world, since I work in a library and in the schools, that there's just this lack of trust, or there's lack of, I know there's a little bit of that, the lack of confidence in anything public right now as far as public education and resources.
I can't say I disagree with that. And that's both the state and local level, right? Like those two go hand in hand. Yeah. Not to be being, but yeah.
Spend some time villainizing our teachers for a while there.
Well, and it didn't help that we lost our accreditations at the schools, and having to get them back, and
students to private school and that also has a negative impact. I mean, there is a specific number for ratios of improvement of low income and higher income students. There's a specific percentage. I can't remember. My dad did his doctoral research on it. So, but basically, it's diversity and yeah. It has
What
a
I have
negative
to hold in
impact.
my
It's been a
hands is
slow
that
beating process for
It is.
years.
it is, and what I have to hold in my hands too is like I actually talk to people. I'm hearing my teacher friends be like, "I'm leaving the district." I'm like, they because like I really just I love one friend actually stopped me last Friday. Was like I was going to a meeting. She, Jackie, I am so disappointed with myself, and I'm leaving. I'm staying in Norfolk Public Schools. I'm staying in the schools, but I'm leaving a Title I school where my heart is. Working in Title I school, but I've already applied and I'm going to another school in Norfolk Public Schools because I just can't do it. I can't do it and hold my family together. So like we're bleeding.
There's draining.
We're bleeding, and I don't know that you may not hear a person say this. I don't know button. And I also am like in a place where like it pains me because it's like, where do we stop the bleeding?
Right.
Like which portion do we stop the bleeding at? Because there's several places where we're merging.
Be addressed. So, this is all, the reason our schools are so segregated is because of the legacy of, after Brown versus Board of Education, the massive resistance to segregators. So we have to undo that. And of course, it's been very difficult because it's so ingrained in our neighborhood. Shows that the more that, of course, for those socioeconomic families, it benefits them to be exposed to higher economic socioeconomic families, because they see people who have full families or that they go on vacations and they have cultural experience that the others might not have. But it goes both ways. The higher socioeconomic families and the lower economic families too. And so we want to make sure that we are providing that full experience for everyone, so that we don't have we're not going to perpetuate the history of the haves and have-nots.
Raise. I know that's not a whole bunch, but it's a little something. A 3% raise for teachers.
You're keeping me. I'm not going
Just
anywhere.
a little something. And I also, as we were talking about this, I remember last time I was here, you were talking about coastal resilience. We got $1 million for an actual executive level coastal resilience officer. So someone that is committed to at least organizing and making sure different portions and different departments are trying to find that money within their realm of things. So whether it's transportation or housing or whatever it is, that should be, I think that's getting stood up. There's money for it, still have to appoint the person, not to say that that'll be a whole, but.
Yeah, it's a matter of how they go about doing it, because
This is true.
the core engineers, the way they do stuff, it gets back to they're there to protect
Mhm.
property values that are high.
Yep.
Where-
Remember what's an asset. And that's at the federal level though, that's not me,
Right.
we are not doing that.
Right, and because the other part of Norfolk, I guess around Norfolk State, this on the coast,
Mhm.
that community is,
Not considered an asset.
yeah, they pitched a fit.
We're chasing, and the state did not give the city what they asked for. There was
Oh, right.
so we,
The casino thing.
well,
Was that part of
well, part of it. So no, yes, the casino, I feel like that was the original budget for the House, where it had, I think we were asking for $73 million, right, from the state to get the project going. There was a language in the budget that said that 20 million, additional 20 million more dollars was contingent upon a casino, right? Contingent upon, and it was a treasury loan. So after some further like digging, like actually talking to the Deputy Secretary of Natural Resources and really having a conversation, it's like, if we wanted to take a loan, Norfolk has good credit.
Yes.
Surprise, good credit. Your state, like we're trying to just make sure that the state is a good partner. We had the full amount in our budget when it left the House. We actually at the governor's level, the full amount down into the day that we went up there for the budget to just see if like, can we at least get that number up to 50? And it's a little more reasonable, but from what I, looking at the city's budget, that they sort of account for how that is, how they've already accounted for only having the 25 million what came out of the original conference between the legislative branch. Move forward from there, but I do plan on, I'm sure the city council folks do plan on lobbying to amend that on the next budget, but we didn't. Sometimes the hang up is not party related. Sometimes it's regional. Sometimes it's chamber, depending on the chamber, that there's a sort of disagreement. And that's where we had a chamber. Sometimes that's not in the elected control, but those folks who run those money committees, right, who sit at the head of the money committees at their pleasure. Pausing again. I see you. Nope.
I think one of our other very local concerns has come up statewide there regarding the state was with some of our interaction with VDOT regarding like maintaining road like exit ramps and stuff like that around here, and calls to VDOT have basically I don't know if they've gone unanswered, but they've been correct. Kind of like
that's when you get me involved. No, like seriously,
okay.
No joke. That's pretty like my job is to be a liaison between the community, the district that I represent, and the state agencies. So like call me. Number one, the Secretary of Transportation is from Norfolk Land. He's from Norfolk. But that's when that happens on those ramps and transportation. And the good part is I sit on that committee, so like I've actually had the opportunity to build relationships with the deputy secretaries, the DMV, the car dealers, all those people, because we sit and talk about the legislation before that. But even if I didn't, it's still my role to see that through.
So I know that it seems like the mowing and all along, like you said, the ramps and all being ignored. And I know a lot of that is because of the construction. But I also in construction contracts, it is up to the person that gets the contract to maintain that mowing. So whoever's managing those contracts need to make sure that those people are doing that.
And yeah, that's details as possible. And if I need more, I'll reach out and ask, and I can call the department and say, hey, like this, we can like, and try to, I'll exhaust everything
And the
that I have.
trash and.
Trash and
Well, those at Little Creek Road and Granby, those where the
exits.
construction is going on.
Yeah, it's kind of covered up now that construction's there,
But it gets nasty.
but it gets
Well, this trash is real good on Roosevelt, let me tell you.
right.
It
there,
is
yeah, that is the
Top
same
notch
way.
down there, boy.
Yeah.
You need a piece of trash, I can help.
Granby Elementary has plenty too. I do regular cleanups.
You need trash for your.
Right up.
The problem
Sorry,
is with Boulevard. You know, it's unclear who owns the
It's not,
property.
it's actually.
Railroad.
Oh, it is,
Okay.
The
okay.
city owns it.
Right.
Railroad and city.
Okay. Did you
The fencing along the neighborhoods, that's, I just recently learned that the city actually owns
all right.
Along the
Nobody
drainage
cares.
ditch and all.
Listen, we got no right tree to
Report
bark up.
Yeah, but between the railroad tracks, not road tracks and terminal.
it. No, the railroad tracks in the housing,
Okay.
where those dilapidated fences are.
You know, the ditch. Yeah.
Is that, are we talking Titustown area? Where are we talking about?
Well, you
All
come
the way
along there,
terminal.
Yeah.
Roosevelt,
All the way
all
from
the way down.
Ruthven, from where the curve
Yeah.
starts all the way down to.
Down.
Because I remember
That's all
being a
railroad.
part of this, of just trying to figure out who owns that
Roosevelt,
section.
Divot,
Okay,
all
got it.
down in that area.
Yeah.
Speaking of trains,
Trains.
I want to make sure everyone knows,
Planes and automobiles.
don't call Jackie about trains blocking intersections. You gotta call Bobby Scott. That's a federal
Yeah, that's a
issue.
thing. That's a thing, because what happens,
Like, we gotta call it reps, and I'm like, you gotta run it all the way up the platform.
and
Call
they,
the right
here's the thing, right, is because if they're gonna block an intersection, I think it's for more than 5 minutes, there's a fine, and they have chosen to just pay these fines rather than do the right thing. A delegate out in Newport News, Shelley Simons, has brought, I mean, like The bill, I don't think would have stopped the length of, well, actually it was to, I think, cap the length of trains that you can actually have, as well as making sure there's 2 people on each train. Interesting enough for this bill is that, right, yeah, it was, because they're here.
Was it?
Sometimes things pass and you hope for the best with the governor to be able to veto it. And I think the expectation was it was going to pass and then it was ultimately going to get vetoed. And I'm 100% sure that Shelley's findings will probably bring that bill back. Again, this is the 2nd year I think she's brought it just for train safety. Some of the conversation, I was very curious as to why someone would be against that. So I started calling, train people and saying like, what's the deal? Like, they're like, that bill is not going to stop it's not going to make trains safer, right? Her lens one is like making something like East Palestine that happened out there from happening anywhere else, is that it wasn't going to make it safer. But then the question is, okay, so then what will? And it's like a little bit of crickets. So we have, being on transportation is also very fun, and like we get to come to the table. This is my season to come to. I hear you. Like, her bill's not going to do anything. So what? Now what? So then how do we get to exactly what it is we're trying to get to? And is it a thing that it doesn't matter what it is you're going to fight me on? Because if I know that, if I know a thing, I can plan for a thing, and I can say that out loud. It doesn't matter what I do. They're going to lobby the hell out of everyone to make sure that it doesn't happen. And here's where we're at. I think then we transition to, then maybe the fine should be higher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then, you know what I'm saying? I'm learning this game. So if you all see or hear or know things, I'm definitely, again,
But the trains are important.
Yeah.
They're
no,
very
Moving the
right,
goods
right.
They're
Nobody's denying that.
Right.
but 2 and 3 times a day. And if it's here, then I know the same thing has happened at Granby until it
Right,
passes
yeah.
Granby.
Yeah.
And we've talked about, the unfortunate thing is, unlike like Ghent, where you've got a few underpasses that help you, here, I think you gotta get the Tidewater.
I think they make it, I think they make a point to kind of keep Granby clear, but they just throw Ruthven under the bus.
Oh, but see, and I don't care.
Right.
I don't care because
We can go.
Right.
information piece.
Yeah.
And that's actually for Hampton and the terminal. That's that if you look at the app, it says
The neighbors, like, no matter what it is, whether it's Norfolk Southern.
The problem is that they're just so long, they can't pull them in, that that's
well,
not
and
break
that's
them
why
up.
there's all about
Yeah,
how long
they're
the
How long the
trains
trains,
are, right?
no longer than like a mile long train is. So that, yes.
And it has to do with the direction going in,
But then again, we gotta call Bobby Scott about that.
This is true, and I can call.
We could-
If I need to do that, to throw that around in a sense, to just even get a response, because sometimes that's a thing, just getting response, then I'll do my best to do it. It's okay. It's okay. I receive it. I signed up for this. Or at least I asked you if I could. And you said yes.
Yes, we did.
What else we got? Nothing?
All right.
That's it.
Well, we don't want to stay here the rest of the night.
That's right.
Let's
You're like,
go with
shut up,
that, too.
Jackie.
Yeah, we need to get to a point.
Can
You-
can
you
you
define,
address
right?
the
It's the
schedule of the tunnel? Are we,
Summer, this thing called Summer School for Certified Doers. So if you're like, I don't even know what y'all do, what that process is, Summer School is July 27th. And I haven't picked the venue yet. We're trying to see how many students we're going to have. I typically do it virtual and in person, but we'll go everything from like how a bill starts, ABCs of government, right? Accountability, boldness, and coalition building. Sometimes we have to do the ABC. We go above and beyond the call of duty to educate ourselves about the right tree to bark up. So that's what Summer School is for. We'll do a legislative pitch contest. So if you've got an idea that you're like, well, Jackie, this is a good idea, and the state should be doing it, we're doing a pitch contest there. So around November is when I like sort of close my ears and hone down in on what I have on my plate. If there's anything between now and November that you're like, I don't know if this is a state thing to do, or I'm not sure, then I'd say by September, October. I think that's because what I like to do with my legislation is show it to the community before I finalize it, just so you can see knowing that I can't carry everything. I genuinely can't carry everything. So I may be trying to find opportunity to critique, just to and work with. So it lets me I give my staff, I try to give them the month of December off because I do ask a lot of them for those next 3 months. So that's, or anything, what do we have anything on the calendar? Oh, we've got bills about people being able to, how much they're able to make without having to get a license. So people have home, pickling and all that stuff, the farmers market stuff. One for social media. Again, I'm keeping it in line with the committees that I'm on. What else do I have? Social media, AI, home, speed cameras.
Yes.
That was a hot topic, so I just
We just have a lot of them installed.
yes, in school, right? So you all know state only allows, so don't go beat up the city like y'all need to put one over here. Right now, the state is only allowing localities to put them within, I think, 175 crossing. That has had a major accident within the past 10 years.
I got a list of the accidents in this past year. It was near at least 6.
Right, so the city is very limited to where they can put them. I know that there are people that want other ways to expand them, but I'll tell y'all, we're trying to hold our hands with a couple of different things. Automated justice, meaning you getting a ticket without a right by them, and then making sure I assure you, I'm learning, and sometimes you know more than I do. And if you're the first person to tell me something, thank you. If you're the 50th, thank you. I probably needed to hear it 50 times. Right? Sounds good.
Well, thank you, Jackie.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming.
Very much.
Very helpful. Thank you for listening.
Down the list here. I do want to mention, just as we've talked a lot about this, since COVID, moving back to full-time school, that attendance has been a problem everywhere. So school to be there. The best attendance rates overall is at 80%. So there's been a lot of work done. It's for high school. I was over in 2018. That was just appalled. But yeah. So high schoolers, they have cars and shops.
They come to my class, I'll tell you that much.
They get lost. They get lost getting off the bus.
Come see Mama G every day.
And freshmen,
Yeah.
they love her. Most improved attendance rate is celebrating a lot. They bring the parents in school. I mean, if they can, they do all. Well, I say once you would think the president's coming to town because they have the cheerleaders out there, they have bands out there, they have balloons and food and cake and everything, and they are really doing a good job of celebrating and recognizing this as an important aspect of learning. So I want to say I'm kind of focusing on the schools that are in this area. Ms. Dolores Charles, she's a school nutrition assistant at Camp Allen Elementary School. She was selected by the School Nutrition Association of Virginia as the School Nutrition Employee of the Year. And Ms. Donna Webster, another school nutrition manager, she's a school nutrition manager at Sewell's Point Elementary. She has received a marketing reward, and Ms. Kelly Stewart of Granby High School's school nutrition manager received the Association Silver Award. And last year, our head manager of our nutrition program, she received a national award. So we're, kids